one. Need to get Ron Pianta to come down. I think at the last meeting there was some commentary by some citizens relative to public notices of items that this board would be considering. And Ron and I discussed it. I asked him to do some research and bring back the results of that research at this meeting for your consideration. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. And as Mr. Sossman said, at the last board meeting, the board asked us to take a look at the public notice requirements that we're currently utilizing. I think it was a good exercise. I think it's always good to take a deep breath and kind of reflect on what you're doing, take a look at it, see if you can improve. What we did is we looked at the surrounding counties, and they are essentially doing the same thing that we are doing relative to the public notice requirements. One difference that I did notice is the radius that the surrounding counties use is 500 feet as opposed to 250 feet. So we could increase the radius to 500 feet. That would be consistent with what the surrounding counties are doing. That would require an ordinance change.
That's what I was going to ask. It
requires to change the ordinance, so if I get the consensus of the board, we can do that. We could also do a corresponding change to the increase in radius for public information workshops, which are now 500 feet, so we could double that. We could do 1,000 on that. That could be something that we could do.
Ron, how about directional signs like we had the other day to where...
Did you read my list? I have a few other suggestions for you. One is we need to improve the sign placement on some of these unusual sites, and that would include directional signs. I spoke to my staff about it. They will be cognizant of that, and when we do place a sign off-site, we will have to put a directional arrow on it so that we direct people to the correct site and do not confuse them as to the proper site that's undergoing a request. We discussed during the meeting 2 weeks ago whether or not to require the applicant to provide photographs of the signs that they erect. The county provides the signs. We fill them out. We tell them where to place them. We also have different size signs, so based upon the location and the size of the property, we give them different size signs. We could, if it was the consensus of the board, to update our application procedure to require the applicants to take a picture of the sign. They currently give us an affidavit, but we could also require a picture of the sign.
Have it on file
if that's something you want us to do. The other thing that we might want to do is, with variance applications, we currently do not require a public information workshop. And many of the variance applications are fairly straightforward, fairly typical, do not need one. However, Chris and I have spoken about this. It's probably a good idea to have that in our toolbox, where the zoning administrator could require a public information workshop for a variance if it appears to be fairly controversial or fairly complicated. That would require an ordinance change. We could also prepare that and bring that back to you. The final item and I think I'm touching everything that was brought up during the hearing last week or a couple of weeks ago. The final thing that we've talked about doing, and it would require us to update our application procedures, and that's identify homeowners associations. Because the management groups and the leaders, are constantly changing, it's very difficult for us to keep up with that. But there's a couple of things that we can do. We're in the process of inventorying all those associations countywide. We can try and keep track of them. We can include in our application procedure a requirement that the applicant identify any affected associations that own property or there's members of that association within that 500-foot radius, and have them identify that for us, sign an affidavit that they will speak to that association as part of the process. There's one additional thing that is going on in Ms. Singer's office, and Ms. Singer has a process where associations or neighborhoods can let her know that they want to be on a mailing list of different events or things that are going on in the county. And with that process, we send, if there's somebody on that list or an association on that list, and we have an application that it affects that list, we scan it, send it to Ms. Singer, and Ms. Singer distributes it for us. So those are the things that we are doing or can do.
When do you think you could have it back to the board?
Well, an ordinance requires 3 public hearings, so we'll have to change that. But as far as the application procedures, any change to the application procedures, we can start working on those and get those instituted fairly quickly.
Okay, just schedule them at the most opportune time. Get them back.
Okay, we'll do that. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you.